At the end of the topic, you will be able to discuss the techniques of imperialism, describe the effects of imperialism, techniques of imperialism, conquest and annexation. Numerous methods were adopted by the imperialists in order to establish themselves. The Spaniards, French and the British sent soldiers to distant lands. They overpowered the native chiefs, conquered their lands and formed colonies. This was called the method of conquest and annexation. Concession or franchise. Concession or franchise means acquiring sole rights to exploit the economic resources of a backward region by an aggressive agency. An example of this technique of imperialism is a group of German bankers and engineers who got a concession to build a long railroad known as the Baghdad Railway in Turkey. Leasehold. Leasehold means sole rights to exploit the economic resources of a backward region, along with political control and grant of lease of a stretch of territory. An example of leasehold is the German Empire obtaining leasehold of 99 years over a part of the Shantung Peninsula in China. Sphere of influence. Sphere of influence means a nation gaining sole rights to exploit and develop the economic resources of a backward region and not allow other nations to establish any form of control over it. In 1907, Great Britain and Russia divided Persia into three zones: the southern zone, the British sphere of influence; the northern zone, the Russian sphere of influence; the central zone, the neutral sphere of influence. This method was adopted in China by the European nations. Protectorate means an indirect political control of a powerful country over a weak and backward region with the help of native puppet ruler. In 1912, France established a protectorate over Morocco. Economic or tariff control. Economic or tariff control means a powerful country taking over the control of the finances or taxes of a weak and backward region. Before the First World War, the Turkish financial system was controlled by the Ottoman Public Department Administration, which was composed mostly of European officials. Mandate system was the last form of new imperialism. In 1919, this system was formatted at the Paris Peace Conference at the suggestion of General Jan Smuts of South Africa. Most of the former colonies and backward regions were allotted to the League of Nations. The League handed over these colonies to different nations, which were its agents or mandatories. Effects of imperialism. Positive effects of imperialism. Development of transport and communication facilities in weaker nations, improvement in the education system, better medical facilities and sanitation, enhanced farming methods and improved food production, decrease in death rate and overall development in the standard of living, better discipline and unity. Negative effects of imperialism. Colonies were deprived of freedom and were exploited. Exploitation of natural resources. The colonies were used as providers of raw materials and markets for finished products. Poverty and unemployment due to the disappearance of indigenous industries. The traditional pattern of agriculture was changed and natives were forced to cultivate raw materials than food crops. The establishment of Western culture and education led to the loss of traditional culture. Destruction of some native races of Africa due to slave trade. The policy of racial discrimination was practiced in some colonies. In this topic, you have learnt several techniques were introduced for the growth of imperialism. They were conquest and annexation, concession or franchise, leasehold, sphere of influence, protectorate, economic or tariff control, and mandate system. Imperialism had both positive and negative effects. Imperialism brought development to weaker nations. On the other hand, these colonies were exploited of their natural resources.